The Canon CN7 has become a staple Cine-Servo zoom across a huge range of productions over the past 6 years that it has been on the market, and today we are looking at its new, slightly bigger brother, the Canon Cine-Servo CN10x25 IAS. The CN10 is a 10 times cine zoom lens that has a focal range of 25 to 250mm. This sits between the other two Cine-Servo lenses from Canon, the 17-120 or CN7 and the 50-1000 or CN20. Physically, the CN10 draws a lot of design influence from the CN7. The CN10 weighs in at approximately 3.06 kilograms or 6.7 pounds, which is roughly 0.3 pounds or 700 grams heavier than the CN7, and is around 0.8 inches longer, making it roughly 10.8 inches or 27.4 centimeters long. This makes it 3.85 inches or 9.78 centimeters shorter than the Ingenue Optimo style 25-250. It has the same 114mm front diameter as the CN7 and will take 112mm filters, which I would suggest ordering alongside the lens, as this front element is large and will cost a pretty penny to replace it. When we took the lens out to shoot some more creative tests, we used the C500 Mark II as well as the EU-V2 extension unit on the back of it. We chose the V2 to rig onto the camera for several reasons. 1, it allowed us to use V-Lock batteries. 2, to achieve better balance on the shoulder. And 3, to connect the lens to the camera via the 12-pin high-res port on the back. When using the CN10 with the C400 Mark II and C300 Mark III with the V2 extension unit attached, I do wish that Canon had made this cable a little longer, as it's so close to reaching the back of the camera. This would mean not having to pick up an extension cable and you wouldn't have to manage the extra cable length of having that extension. Hawkwood will be making a cable for this purpose. Connecting the lens into this port will allow you to not only power the lens so you can use the servo unit, but also allow you to stop-start using the grip too. However, if you want to use it with other systems, you can pick up 12-pin high-res to DTAP cables, as well as other cables like 12-pin to 4-pin high-res, which you could use with the XCCA FS7 for example. When using it in this configuration, we used it with a full ARRI Pro set to get it onto our shoulder comfortably. Unfortunately, the rig could have done with being pushed back a little bit more, so it wasn't quite as front heavy, but this is partly due to the large amount of weight being in the front of the lens like the CN7. However, one pro of this is the focus ring is nice and large, which makes it great to hold onto when solo operating on shoulder, especially with the lens's short focus throw of just 180 degrees. When it comes to putting a rig together with this or any Cine-Servo lens that's going to spend a lot of time on the shoulder, I would really suggest booking in an appointment, coming into one of our showrooms so we can help customize and balance your rig perfectly. The lens also features 0.8 MOD 32 pitch gears on the focus ring, 0.5 MOD 51 pitch gears on the iris and zoom rings. It features a minimum focus of 1.2 meters or 4 foot, but it also features a macro mode like that on the CN7. This allows you to focus extremely close and make the lens even more versatile than it already is. It is available in both EF and PL mount, however this isn't user serviceable, so if you do need to swap the mount, this will have to be done by Canon or a Canon authorized engineering service. The EF mount features the same electronic connection as other EF lenses, so with this you get the focal length and t-stop readout, as well as use of some of the fantastic manual focus assist tools that Canon Cinema EOS cameras now feature. The PL mount features your standard Cooke eye data. The CN10 also features a built-in 1.5 times extender that not only extends the range for Super 35 cameras, which is what the lens is designed to cover, from 25 to 250 to 37.5 to 375, but toggling this extender also increases the image circle so that the lens can cover full frame sensors like that of the C500 Mark II. This makes it an incredibly versatile lens. In Super 35, you're getting two different sets of great focal lengths just by flicking the extender switch, and in full frame, you are getting a relatively lightweight and small zoom lens with great focal range coverage. It may not be the fastest, but with low light performance being as good as it is on these modern sensors, it's not that big of a deal. I could see a lot of documentary and wildlife filmmakers rushing towards this lens for its size and reach. In regards to t-stop, the lens features an 11 aperture iris and has a wide open aperture of t2.95 between 25 and 187, and then from there it will ramp to t3.95 by the time you hit 250. When you activate the built-in 1.5x extender, this turns into t4.4 between 37.5 and 281mm, and then it ramps from there to t5.9 at 375mm. You also have a back focus adjustment system here, which is easy and quick to use. When we were out shooting, we actually noticed it wasn't hitting infinity, and it took no time at all to adjust the back focus on location, and then it performed great. As in the case with Canon's other Cine-Servo zooms, the lens comes with a servo unit which you can remove and attach yourself depending on whether you need it or not. It features a range of ports and buttons to customize the control functions. This unit is compatible with industry standard lens controllers like the ZSD 300D or FPD 400D for full zoom, focus and iris control remotely. It can also be integrated into studio systems with its 16-bit metadata output. The grip is perfectly positioned for shoulder use and feels great to use and control. Here you have a zoom rocker which is perfectly positioned on the top of the grip, which you can set the speed of, as well as a start-stop which is in a perfect position again. With it working really well as a CueScript zoom lens, if you remove the servo unit you can easily use it for more traditional cine and TV production. With the grip off, you can grab any fizz system you want to and use it more traditionally. The focus ring has both feet and meter markings on the same barrel, which again is pretty handy. Having both of these options makes it incredibly versatile no matter what production scenario it's going on to. But all of these great features aside, how does it look? Well, let's take a look. Let's start with one of the more important characteristics of a Cine-Servo zoom, how parfocal it is. For those who don't know what a parfocal lens is, it is a lens that holds its focus when the focal length is changed. This means you can perform zooms and not worry that your focus on your subject is going to shift. This is the opposite to varifocal, where the focus changes as you change the focal length. Most stills lenses are varifocal. As you expect from a lens like this, it performs really well, holding focus throughout the zoom range with the extender both disengaged and engaged. The CN10 features an 11-blade iris, so bokeh is nice and round even when stopping down. Focus roll-off is nice, and even wide open, out-of-focus highlights are very nice with very minimal CA, though you can see a little texture in some of these areas. We didn't get to our regular, more controlled tests, so the only flare examples we got were while we were out shooting. Flare seems very well controlled, however you can make it flare if you want to, and the flare we captured was actually quite unique in some scenarios. Take this shot for example, which shows a rainbow flare and a good amount of reduced contrast across the image. When it comes to sharpness and resolution, the CN10 does well. For our tests, we shot our trusty focus chart and cycled through the different focal ranges and t-stops with the extender on and off. In Super 35 mode at the wider end, the corners are a little soft and there is some chromatic aberration across the frame, with less in the centre getting more pronounced towards the edges of the frame. This is improved as you go through the zoom range, but corners are still not resolved as well as the centre. As you stop down, both sharpness and CA is improved across the frame, as you'd expect. With the extender on, I think CA is a little worse across the range, but not by much. Sharpness is also pretty comparable. Overall, it's quite impressive how consistent Canon has managed to keep the performance of the lens with the addition of the extender. There is some CA present, but given the form factor and range of the lens, there are going to be compromises somewhere optically. For breathing, we shot at each focal length across the entire focal range. There is a good amount of it throughout the range, and with the extender engaged, performance is pretty much identical. When it comes to coverage, if you haven't, you should check out our lens coverage and camera comparison tool, as this shows real-world visual examples of what lenses will cover at a range of focal lengths, t-stops and focus distances. We used our regular setup for this to test the coverage of the CN10 also. In its Super 35 mode, it suffers from pretty obvious light loss towards the corners, but no hard vignette, and as you expect, it performs better as you stop down and the more you zoom the lens. With the extender on, in Super 35 mode, the amount of vignetting is drastically reduced. When looking at how it performs with the 1.5x extender in full frame mode, it's got around the same amount of light loss as the lens does in Super 35 mode without the extender engaged. It also behaves as you'd expect at the different focal points and focal ranges. In Super 35 mode, this covers the 29.636mm diagonal of the C500 Mark II in 4K Super 35 mode, as well as the C300 Mark III in 4K DCI. This lines up with how you'd expect this to perform, but if you want to see how the CN10 works on a format of your choice, I've put the link to our lens tool down below. When it comes to distortion, as you'd expect from most zooms, wide open you have some barrel distortion, and as you zoom to the longer focal lengths, this turns into pincushion. When you engage the extender, this distortion actually gets a little bit more pronounced. In conclusion, the Canon CN10 is a logical middle step between the CN7 and the CN20. It brings features from both lenses, which makes it an incredibly versatile and well put together Cine-Servo zoom that will feel at home on a range of productions. Whether that's on a shoulder for documentary or broadcast use, on a tripod in a studio, or out on location filming wildlife. The lens's optical performance is good, but I think the size, weight, very good focal range and versatile 1.5x extender will make it an attractive option for some. Let us know what you think of the Canon CN10 down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and for future content make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.